military U.S. without the Department of Defense. Many spend their days enforcing get into the initial event.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. What a pleasure it is to be here with this community of restless, good-hearted builders so that together, this is our job, together we can make sense of our uncertain world. It's an amazing time to be alive, right? But I think we all feel there's too much darkness around us. So let us remember, every day we can choose to be torchbearers. As torchbearers, we pass the light of knowledge, of insight, imagination, of care from one hand to another. This slow, luminous work of connection is how progress happens. The gathering of minds and hearts determined to leave something useful and perhaps beautiful behind. If you listen closely, beneath the noise and the chaos, which is all around us, you can hear the quiet rhythm of people building, not for recognition and not for applause, but because building is how we give form to hope. What our imaginations can picture, our hands can shape. Isn't that incredible? And what our hands can shape, our communities will strengthen. The people you'll meet today, the inventors, the artists, the storytellers, the doers, all of them, they're proof that creativity remains our most valuable, renewable resource. They remind us that light is not the absence of darkness. It's the act of shining right through it. So as we begin Demo Day, let us celebrate that enduring human instinct to build, to connect, to illuminate. Welcome to Demo Day. Thank you. So now it's my great pleasure to welcome to the stage my friend and colleague and RMC for today, Chad Griffin.
Thank you, Lorene. What a powerful start to this spectacular day. I'm Chad Griffin, a managing director here at Emerson Collective, and I'm so proud to be here with you this afternoon. This is our 9th Demo Day. Nearly a decade of bringing together some of the brightest, boldest, and most creative problem solvers around. Entrepreneurs, scientists, artists, educators, and community leaders. People who don't just imagine change, they build it. And today you'll hear from 10 extraordinary leaders from across Emerson's portfolio who embody that spirit of possibility, of ingenuity, and of resolve. We'll also have 2 inspiring conversations with some very special guests, and then we'll close things out with a grand finale that I promise you won't want to miss. Now, 2 quick things before we begin. First, my job today is make sure that we stick to the schedule. Because we have a lot of unbelievable moments in store for you on this stage. And since my very first job in life was as a checkout clerk at a busy Walmart in Arkansas, I assure you we're going to keep things moving at a good pace. And second, I know many of you here today, probably most of you, and I know you're not a shy bunch. So please be yourselves and cheer enthusiastically for every speaker who steps on this stage. They've earned it. Now let's dive right in. In this first set of demos, we'll hear from one of the greatest social entrepreneurs transforming education globally, a groundbreaking innovator building batteries to clean up the industrial sector. We'll meet a newsroom leader connecting communities in the Deep South, a bookseller breathing new life into his New Orleans neighborhood. And finally, we'll hear from a renowned journalist and an expert on authoritarianism who will help us try and make sense of this national moment. That is quite the lineup. So who's ready to get started? Yep. And up first, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Wendy Kopp.
In 1989, I set out, fresh out of college, to start Teach for America. At the time, few believed that promising recent grads of diverse backgrounds and all different academic majors would commit 2 years to teach in urban and rural public schools. But in the 35 years since, more than 70,000 young people have committed 2 years to Teach for America. And in the more than 60 countries across the Teach for All network, more than 50,000 more have so far made this commitment to teach in their own countries through similar organizations, from Teach for India to Ensina, Brazil. And yet, despite all this progress, it has never felt more challenging to inspire promising young leaders to make such choices. If you happen to be the parent of college-age kids like I am, you probably know what I mean. Take Harvard, where last year almost half the senior class took jobs in 3 sectors, in finance, technology, and consulting. And that's up from about a third a decade ago. The world's challenges are more visible than ever, and yet fewer of those graduates took jobs that put themselves in proximity to the roots of those challenges than in past years. Why? Why aren't our young people taking jobs close to the issues that they care about? There are many factors. The financial pressures are real, but we should know that it's the most financially privileged young people who are most likely to take the corporate options. Our universities rarely foster a culture of reflection among their students about their civic responsibilities and their implications for their lives. Rather, our campus cultures are dominated by the search for prestigious jobs from corporations that start recruiting them very aggressively as early as freshman year, offering lucrative summer internships. The students who don't pursue those find themselves often feeling lost with little support to find different options. To solve our most pressing problems, inequity, polarization, environmental degradation, we need our young people gaining the perspective, the insight, the skills, the commitment to make a real difference against them over time. And that means we need to support them to find their way to early jobs, early in their career trajectories, that put them in proximity to those issues. Our experience at Teach for All, the research shows that these early professional commitments to take roles in proximity, like in the face of the inequities in their countries, are completely transformative. They shape their whole careers. The research shows that these young people come to believe more in their students, more in the assets in their communities, more in their own potential to make a difference. They gain a greater understanding of the systemic nature of the challenge, and 75% of them continue to work full-time for the rest of their lives to take on that challenge, whether as educators, policymakers, or entrepreneurs. These early professional commitments develop what we've come to call collective leadership, diverse change agents working around the whole ecosystem around kids. We're all on the same mission, learning and collaborating together with each other and with others in the system. What we've seen is that over time, whether in Washington, D.C., and Chicago, or Ogun State, Nigeria, or Pune, India, that collective leadership makes a real difference for kids over time. Our experience shows that we can look at the early job choices of the most promising leaders in the next generation and predict the future. Let's work together to effect a norm shift in first job choices. We can start by influencing the young people in our own lives. When they come asking for advice, maybe over the dinner table this holiday season, let's ask them if the options they're considering will put them close to the realities in their country and the world. If so, they will shape a better future for themselves and for all of us. Thank you so much.
For the first time in decades, energy demand is surging across the country. Huge new factories and data centers are being built, the largest of which consume as much power as entire cities. You may have heard that a lack of available energy could slow down this growth and raise power prices for everyone. But here's the thing. The cheap, clean energy we need is already here. It's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Take Texas, for instance. They have so much clean energy that a lot of the time they have too much power, and they have to start turning off power plants. In fact, last year, we wasted enough clean energy to power virtually all of America's AI data centers. So the question isn't how do we get enough energy, it's how do we get it at the right time. That's why my co-founders and I started Antora Energy, to convert fleeting intermittent sources of energy into a reliable foundation for our energy future. And to do that, we started with a blank slate. We looked at every type of advanced battery technology we could, from those based on lithium and sodium to molten salt and iron. And what we found surprised us. The cheapest, simplest way to store huge amounts of energy is to heat up a rock, namely solid carbon. Carbon is the element that powered the industrial age, fueling factories and furnaces, railroads and steel mills. But in our batteries, carbon isn't the fuel, it's the hardware. Here's how one of our carbon-based batteries works. When electricity is cheap, we run it through what's basically a giant industrial-scale toaster, heating carbon blocks up to over 1/3 the temperature of the surface of the sun. At those temperatures, the carbon blocks store more than 5 times as much energy as lithium-ion batteries, but at a fraction of the cost. In order to hold all of that energy in, we had to design our own insulation and seals, all made of carbon so that they wouldn't melt. And to get the energy back out again, well, that was actually easier than we thought it would be. The carbon inside is so hot it's glowing white like the sun, which means we can use light to transfer energy from the hot core to the outer edges, where we convert it into 24/7 heat and power for industrial customers and data centers. Our first factory is right down the road in San Jose, and we'd love for you to come visit us. It's one of the biggest battery factories in the country, with a production rate of 10 gigawatt hours per year, which is equivalent to about 1/4 of all of the batteries that were installed on the US grid last year. And as we speak, we are shipping these batteries to our first commercial project. It's a multi-gigawatt hour battery installation that will soon be delivering affordable, reliable energy to a major industrial customer in the Midwest. That project and the ones right behind it point to what's possible. We powered the industrial revolutions of the past by burning carbon, but we can power today's advanced factories and data centers, the industrial revolution of this century, by building with it. Thank you.
Mississippi is a place full of contradictions and complications. Creativity, suffering, and tremendous determination live side by side. Mississippi has been a cradle of American creativity and a battleground for civil rights. Elvis Presley and Sam Cooke were born here. So were Ida B. Wells and Fannie Lou Hamer. And so was I in tiny Sunflower County, the heart of the Mississippi Delta. We hold many hard truths in Mississippi. Our population is declining, and what happens here is a microcosm for what we struggle with as a nation: corruption, poverty, poor health outcomes, and polarization. It's bleak, and it's also beautiful. Mississippians as a whole are fiercely loyal, and we don't like having our story told by people who don't understand this complicated place we call home. I lead a nonprofit newsroom called Mississippi Today, and we launched nearly 10 years ago out of this very need for local, nuanced reporting that gets to the heart of the systems harming our state. The day our team showed up at the state capitol in 2016, we doubled the size of the press corps. We made every story available to republish at no cost by hometown papers across the state. Today, we're the largest newsroom in Mississippi with 30 full-time reporters and editors. In 2022, our investigative reporting helped expose the state's largest welfare scandal, and for that, won the Pulitzer Prize for local reporting. Thank you. Our journalism has helped get women out of prison, and it has inspired community leaders to course correct and invest resources in fighting opioid addiction. But it's not just about accountability. It's about reporting on accomplishment, like the fact that Mississippi has become a model for monumental gains in childhood literacy. Mississippians trust our reporting because we're their neighbors. They know we love this state as much as they do. They see our journalists in the halls of power on Monday and at the farmers market on Saturday. And I've seen firsthand the way that local, on-the-ground reporting can actually scramble the story you think you know about division in this country, catalyzing unlikely alliances in action. Take, for example, the story of Kimberly Todd, a single mother of 5 in North Mississippi, where she and a quarter of her community are living below the poverty line. When our health reporter met Kimberly in September, she was in a months-long struggle to qualify for Medicaid, one of the most politically divisive issues in our state. So our journalist did what every good reporter does. She started asking questions and deeply researching the tangled process for Medicaid approval. Through this, she not only discovered that a policy was being implemented incorrectly, but she put a human face on the hot-button issue of Medicaid and the social safety net it provides for nearly 700,000 Mississippians. Our coverage created a more personal, nuanced understanding of the issue, and I'm happy to share that soon after our story published, Kimberly was able to get the care that she needed. Journalism like ours helps unravel the state's contradictions and complications. We learn more about each other, and we remind our readers that before they think of themselves as left or right, red or blue, they must remember they are Mississippians first. There is no doubt that our country is divided right now. It is messy, and it is complicated, and it's beautiful. This may be a new feeling for many of you, but in Mississippi, we've felt it for generations. So I encourage you to hold the contradictions in your heart, the way we do in Mississippi, and I urge you to read and support and champion your local newsrooms. It's how you make sense of the contradictions. It's how you get the real story. And let me tell you, if we can build a newsroom that catalyzes change in the Deep South, we can do it anywhere. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is DJ Johnson, and I am the owner of a bookstore in New Orleans called Baldwin & Co. 5 years ago, I could not have imagined what now stands on the corner of New Orleans 7th Ward, a neighborhood once marked by broken windows and silence, now hums with life. You see, Baldwin & Co. has transformed that community into a community where ideas breathe, children laugh, and opportunities flourish. My journey back home to New Orleans, it began when I left a thriving career, positioned to be one of the youngest chief information officers in the federal government, quitting that job to move back home to care for my mother. You see, when I was a kid, I grew up with a speech impediment, and my mom, she filled our homes with books. She made sure I read every day. And those books, they gave me language, they gave me confidence, and they eventually gave me purpose. And in moving back home to care for my mother, I found a new calling. And that was to create a space where books could heal others the same way that they had once healed me. And that space is Baldwin & Co. What once began as a hollowed-out building is now a testament to what happens when a community rallies behind an individual's imagination. In one of the most economically challenged communities, we've witnessed children light up during our children's story time. We've had thousands line up for our free book giveaways, and we've had national businesses partner with us to provide college savings accounts for kids, because literacy without access is not enough. You see, our work, it connects language literacy with financial literacy, ensuring that knowledge begets opportunity. And the results are visible. When we host literary icons like Arundhati Roy, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Malcolm Gladwell, and so many others, hundreds and sometimes thousands gather to listen, learn, and connect. But the moments that actually stick with me are the smaller ones, like our literacy tutoring services, teaching a young child how to read her first sentence, or a high schooler attending one of our events and meeting prominent scholar Eddie Glaude Jr. and realizing that Princeton is actually within reach, or a grown man walking into Baldwin & Co. and say, man, I've never read a book in my entire life, but I heard your story, and I was inspired, and I wanted to know where to start. So I told him, I said, start with The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin, because that's where change begins. Because you see, Baldwin & Co. is more than a bookstore. It's a movement. It is proof of the transformative power of a bookstore that is part cultural institution, part literacy movement, and part community anchor. It's a hub for dialogue. It is a home for imagination. It is a lighthouse for literacy. It is proof that bookstores can reshape cities. So listen, our story is still being written. There are chapters that are waiting for your voice and your vision and your belief into what is possible. So I encourage each and every one of you to not just witness this amazing story, but to start to write yourself into it. So become a co-author in this story of how Baldwin & Co. is changing the landscape of literacy in this country by joining our membership program. Because Baldwin & Co. belongs to all of us. And the next chapter begins right here, right now, with you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you.
Not long after being elected, the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, was angered by a satirical television program. This was called Kukly, and it was a puppet show. And what he really didn't like was the puppet of himself. It was small, it was scrawny. But he didn't cancel the show. Instead, what he did was he intimidated the owner of the television station, which was producing the show. So he threatened him with investigations, there were lawsuits, there was harassment of his children. Eventually, the owner gave up. He sold the television station to Gazprom, which is a Kremlin-owned oil and gas company, and Kukly disappeared. Why am I telling you this story? I'm telling it to you to expand your definition and understanding of what the word censorship means. So all of us have in our minds the kind of Orwellian image of a bureaucrat in an office crossing out sentences with a pen. But actually, in modern, sophisticated autocracies, in Russia or in China, there's no Department of Censorship, and there are no bureaucrats, and they don't have pens. Instead, the regime influences newspapers, broadcasters, as well as anyone who speaks in public through financial pressure, through lawsuits, through tax investigations, through small kinds of harassment that makes their lives difficult. And online conversations are controlled in the same way. So the government either owns or influences the platforms, and they in turn make it hard for anybody to find ideas that the regime dislikes. Censorship in this form has now arrived in the United States. And it poses the greatest threat to the free press and to free speech that Americans have faced in modern times. So Donald Trump, just like Putin, has been using lawsuits and the bureaucracy, the Federal Communications Commission, to bully entertainment conglomerates and news outlets. You know, a call from a bureaucrat got Jimmy Kimmel fired. The fear of retribution led ABC News, among others, to pay off the president. CBS and the Washington Post now go out of their way not to offend him. They play a game. They don't want to be in the crosshairs. They're careful what they publish. So just like Putin, Trump has also nearly engineered the sale of TikTok, which is arguably the most important source of political information for younger Americans, to his allies. And so, like their counterparts in China, American social media CEOs also now let their algorithms promote lies and conspiracy theories, hiding better information, downplaying journalism, creating distrust and polarization. Why? Because they can make money and win the favor of the president at the same time. In the coming years, the task for people like you, for people in this room, is to prevent that circle from closing. So I'm lucky, I work for The Atlantic, and we can report what we see without fear of retribution, but we don't reach everyone. America also needs grassroots sources of information. You heard from one a few minutes ago, but you also need information that comes from institutions that a wide range of people trust. And I actually believe that a wide range of people is also needed to produce them. So if we're to maintain a fair national conversation, then we need schools and universities and charities and unions and artist networks and others who will build local news websites, newsletter networks, radio stations to provide the information that people aren't getting anywhere else. And everyone, actually, from artists to scientists, can help build these grassroots projects as contributors, as supporters, or just as readers, or just as people who share things. I also think that people like you will eventually work together to support alternative forms of social media as well. Eventually, we're going to need platforms whose algorithms promote consensus and accuracy, and that's not scientifically impossible, instead of lies and sensation. But they will also need people who can then seek out and share good information with their networks and support the people who work to provide it. Protecting the free press nowadays is not just about keeping journalists out of jail. So the old idea of what you have to do to save journalism is very different, I think, than it used to be. It now requires the construction of new forms of media and social media, new forms of communication, led by a new generation of leaders who are not susceptible to political pressure and who are willing to work together and create networks that can resist it. So I have no doubt that some of them are already here in this room, and so in advance, I thank you.
Thank you, Anne, for that urgent reminder of the role that we all have to play in protecting our freedom of speech. Now, let's give another round of applause for all of those inspiring first set of demo speakers. By the way, just a quick reminder, don't forget to stop by the EC bookstore out in the lobby. You can find books by Anne and our other speakers today. Now, to kick off our first conversation of the afternoon, please welcome Lorene back to the stage, joined by artist and filmmaker JR and Academy Award-winning actor, director, and producer Robert De Niro.
How great is this? So our two guests today are people who are very well known throughout the world, but what the world doesn't know is that they're working on a very personal film together. Robert De Niro is an actor's actor. He's one of the most important artists of his generation. All right. All right, and his accolades are many, but among his professional achievements, he has won 2 Oscars. He has been awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He's a Kennedy Center honoree and has received Lifetime Achievement Awards from SAG and the Golden Globes. Furthermore, if that weren't enough, Bob established the Tribeca Film Festival after 9/11 to help revitalize Lower Manhattan. JR is an artist and filmmaker. As you saw outside, he turned streets and alleys into galleries and people into monumental portraits. In 2011, JR won the TED Prize, which allowed him to start the Inside Out project. At that time, that's when we got to meet him, and we started working together to bring 2 traveling photo booths crisscrossing the United States. So when these 2 amazing creators get together, something very special happens. In 2015, they collaborated on Ellis, a short, very beautiful film. Please watch it if you haven't seen it, that honors immigrants who passed through Ellis Island. And then more recently, Bob opened his father's artist studio in Soho. His father was a great artist, known to many of you. The studio was kept intact for 30 years, largely unseen, and then he revealed to JR the father's journals and paintings, and JR filmed that moment. And it was from this intimate day that their new collaboration began. They're now making a film, so that grew into a much larger film project. It's been underway for 4 years. and it's touching areas of Bob's life, his art, and his deep humanity. Welcome, Bob and JR.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Thanks for being here. So I'm going to start with JR to talk about this film. No, I'm looking at you.
I thought you were talking to somebody else.
You thought there was someone standing behind you? There's not. So I'll start with JR. So maybe you can share with us the vision of the film. I just talked briefly about the genesis of it, but talk a little bit about your vision as a filmmaker and how that's evolved over the last 4 years as you're filming.
Well, you know, I've met Bob when I moved to New York 15 years ago, and he took me on so many of the sets and places where he was working. And so I was very lucky for all those years of friendship and of work. Also, we've done a few projects together, but Elise was really the first time I've done a little piece of fiction, which at the time we made for free, and we gave it to any platform and any community that wanted to speak about immigration. And so that was our intention in this film. To be honest, this project, we didn't know what we were walking into, because I had really been coming to his father's studios a few times before that. But somehow that day we wanted to film, and because we were putting an exhibition for Robert De Niro Sr., Bob's father, in New York. And I had just asked Bob if he was willing to spend 20 minutes for the first time, maybe showing me a bit more than just walking through the studio. And instead of staying 15, 20 minutes, we spent 6 hours. Wow. And so I had never seen him like that, of like suddenly like asking me, what have you read in the journals? And I asked him, but wait, haven't you read the journals? And he's like, no, I haven't read them. So suddenly I felt, oh, okay, so what are we doing here? I mean, do you want me to...
Is it at that point you grabbed your camera?
No, we were already filming, but it's just that I was not prepared. I was really not prepared. So I said, would you mind if we come here tomorrow again? And the next day we spent another 5 hours. Now, I've asked him, why, what are we doing exactly? Why are you've kept this for all these years, but why haven't you opened those journals? And we've opened doors that day and since then that I've never thought we'd open. And that's the beginning of the film in a way.
And Bob, so now that this is an ongoing film project, if you think about this compared to your extraordinary body of work, how does this film, which is about you and your inner life and coming to terms with the past, how is being filmed in this different from every other project you've been in?
Well, it's me, so I'm not playing a character or anything. I'm just sort of, it's okay. It's okay. Sometimes I don't want to do it, you know, and JR has to sort of, just prod me, do it. I don't want to do it. Other times I do it once I get into it and so on. And it's a process. I just think that you go through, if you leave it where it's indefinite, where there's no deadline, things can happen that you'd never expect. It can happen the other way too, but it's somehow, for me, it felt more interesting to do it like that.
Talk about that a little bit, because I think that's such an important part of this project, that there is no time constraint. You're not working on a deadline. How does that change how stories evolve? How is that the factor?
Well, I'm trying to do what JR wants to do in his telling of the story. I'm just say, you know, what do you want? Point me in this direction. I'll do that, and so on. And at the same time, there are things that will come out when I'm doing it that then I never thought of doing, or maybe I use one of my kids in things that's really nice and sweet and just terrific. And so there's no, I'm following the structure that he wants, what he's created, but at the same time, things come out, and I don't know even now, where we don't.
So when you have a day when you're filming, how much structure is there? How much direction is there? And how much of it is organically unfolding?
Well, he has the, he wants to shoot certain things.
Sure.
He'll say, I want to shoot certain things, you in the foreground, shooting buildings of movies that you've done on buildings in New York and stuff at night. And so I'm there, not doing much. Maybe I'll narrate, maybe I'll speak, maybe it feels right, or I guess not. We didn't really do that. Sometimes I'm sleeping.
He sleeps really well. I have the best scene of him sleeping. Could get an Oscar for that.
I like to sleep. Because I probably don't get enough.
Well, that's going to be riveting.
But you know, but that's actually, like Bob said, he's not acting, okay? And this is something, and again, you're seeing us now in the process, okay?
Yeah.
We're in the process, which means that sometimes we really know what we're doing, sometimes we really don't know what we're doing. And I admire Bob for that because he have really seen me coming on set sometime not knowing what I was about to do and still and I've asked him, I say, Bob, I don't understand. You've worked with the greatest director of all times over generations.
Yeah.
Here you are with a kid who sometimes shows up and is like, actually, I thought of this, it doesn't work. We're trying to put an image of your mother underwater, and then we're sinking the boat right now, and he's like, oh, all right, I'll just come back in an hour, you let me know if it's okay. And really, and he would. Or like I call him, I was in Mauritania one day, and I called him because I had a dream. I say, Baba, I saw you were in the mountains, and you're carrying the body of your father over like 90 feet long in the mountain. Can we do this? And he's like, oh boy, wait, where are you said? And actually, then we would go and film that. So we go in those very depth, adventures where sometimes from a vision, we've tried to put it into reality. And it's true, it's under the fact that I'm asking him to do it, but then I'm really lost in boundaries of like, when does this impact him really personally in what I'm trying to do, and when he's not impacted by it. And we have those discussions openly about it, but the process is the art, because in the process, sometimes we stumble upon life, about memories, about nostalgia, about things that touch us deeper than we thought. And the journey he's doing now to look back, which he had never done in this way before, and even if he had kept everything, all the letters his mother ever wrote him, and his reply to his mother, all the painting, the studio of his father is intact, even the cigarette on the ashtray, the clothes coming back from the laundry, everything is there. And when you're there, you're like, okay, but so how do you keep all that but never look into any drawer or into anything? And doing that must hit him in a way, and I'm speaking in front of him, that I can't even comprehend to the full.
Absolutely, because it's psychological. You're exploring your inner life, and you're doing it on film. And does it get to a point ever where it's terribly uncomfortable and you want to stop or you need a break?
No, it's not. It's a little here or there maybe, but it's not that. JR's not invasive in that way. It's just we let things go. That's why he lets things go where something might happen that none of us thought of. And it happens, something I'll say or do or whatever it is, that's okay. That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's good, sometimes it could be very special, other times it could be, nothing, or just sort of ordinary.
But it's an enormous amount of trust that you've placed in JR, and it sounds like it's only possible because of your friendship. And so JR, not only is this an enormous opportunity, but it's also a huge responsibility that you're carrying this trust and this exploration into your friend's psyche. So how do you navigate that responsibility?
We had clear discussions at the beginning. We know each other for so long, and we had spent, very special quality time. I've learned, I'm so grateful. He doesn't like me to say that, and I pretend he's not here, but the way he impacted my life as a young artist. I moved to New York, I was 27. Yeah. And, when I met him, I just took a photo with him. And then I thought, I would never see him again. And then he was like, just take your camera. Maybe tomorrow you meet me there. I'll give you the address tomorrow morning. And the next day, I'm on a set with Scorsese, DiCaprio, and this, and I'm like, and they're all like, you know, and
Who's this
Marty's
guy?
like, all right, kid, just, yeah, go around, do whatever you need. And everybody's like, what is this kid doing with his camera on a closed set? I don't know what he had in mind. Bob functioned by instinct, you know, and I admire that so much because I've had asked him many times, why do you, even on that set, while he's shooting, but why do you need me here? And he said, no, I just don't know, just, you know, just be. And
Wow, that's
I don't
generous.
think even one day he thought we would do this film together. But to come back to your question, of course, every day I wake up knowing that these moments together in this process are so precious that I'll be thinking of them for the rest of my life. And as we do this, I never take any for granted, even being here with you too, you know, I come from nowhere. I didn't even know, you know, there was art and museums and all this. So I really enjoy every single thing that comes in my life.
Beautiful.
But being able to be with him, to witness how he approached life, you know, to meet his family. And one day he really told me, like he just said today, sometime it's going to be painful, sometime I'm going to be moody, and I won't want to do it, but you have to push me. That day, I really changed something, and I became more, we got to do this. It's not going to be, you know, it's not going to feel nice. You might sit on a barge for 7 hours in the cold with, you know, no water, but like, this is, we're doing it. And to be honest, he have always shown up on time, always done it, always came into the process. And as artists, this is the most amazing thing. I've heard him say it on stage once, when he starts a project, he never quit. And that's something that's like, you know, it gives me even an even bigger responsibility because trust is one thing, and that's the most precious thing. So I would never want to do anything in this film that goes against his will. But his trust never gives me boundary. He's like, dude, let's try. But in the making, I'm showing him, and I'm trying to understand in between words where we're actually going. And I have to say that not knowing where we're going, it's the most amazing experience we could ever dream of. And I'm sure you know that because we have a lot of people here that have created amazing things, and sometimes all of our journey starts with the unknown. And this is a territory that we love going into. We're literally going into the unknown. And sometimes it feels amazing, and sometimes it feels really bad, and we fail, and we're like, why did we do this? But it's okay. And there's morning when I wake up and I feel I have this film, and there's other morning I don't. But he's always there, and he's always like, all right, we'll start again.
It's so beautiful. There are no films that are made like this. This is truly a remarkable endeavor. And so much of the imagery and the film technique is emotionally evocative. And so as we wrap up this conversation, I'd love to hear from both of you. What do you want people to feel when they watch this film?
Well, what I would think is that they feel they get what I'm feeling, and maybe things that I didn't even think of. I don't know. You can't, of course, tell people what to feel.
No.
And like I said, I don't know. I'm just doing it. This, you know, he puts it together and all that, and then it's a certain feeling, sentiment comes out, which is I like it.
Bob, and how much of this film are you doing for your children? Is that a big motivation for you?
Yeah, I mean, I love seeing the kids in it, especially the way they are in it. Yeah, as much as whenever it feels right to have it, it's great.
Seems like a big gift to give to them. Seems like a big gift that you'll give to them.
Yeah.
Like all the scenes with Elliot.
Oh, yeah.
Painting, it's so special.
Yeah.
Look, I get Elliot, which is his son that we see painting in there. Sometimes I ask him to ask him questions. And it's beautiful, because, the phone is a way for Bob to communicate with his father. So Bob goes on the roof, and speak with his dad, and that's the way he communicates with him. And but to Elliot, who sometimes comes and say hello, he asked him one question, which is it true that your dad is trying to contact you? And Bob had to answer to him truly, because he wouldn't understand it, differently, and the metaphor of it could be disturbing. And so your connection with him and the way you interact is really special.
And JR, how about you? Yep.
You see what I have sometimes?
He's very...
No, I'm glad there's witness.
Exactly.
I'm like sweating by myself, but there's the witness.
Now people can...
But now there are people
when people see the finished product, they're going to think it's a miracle.
Two things I'll say. Bob is known for saying few words, and I have to say I've spoke to like incredible writers that have worked with him and on films, and they said, we've tried sometime writing 3-page things, and Bob would come and say, oh, this, I'll do it in one eye. And then the director, this is a story with Michael Mann, would say, all right, okay, you boss, I'll learn the page, we'll do the 3-page thing, and then we'll try your way, Bob. And each time they would use the Bob way of doing it, which is saying nothing and just, sharing the emotion. That's his talent. So first years I was struggling to get words of him, and then I realized, no, the beauty is actually into the silence. Now, what I'll say is, this is a very deep journey, that it's way darker than I imagined, because when you go back in your past, you realize the mistakes of your parents or the stories of your parents or the journey of your parents is impacting you no matter what you do. And if you're trying to go and not caring about it, it will come and hunt you back at some point in life. And that is something that I'm too young to even comprehend. And so when I was like, well, I'm kind of doing this on him, one day he said, no, kid, you're also doing this on yourself. And I think at 4 years into the process, I'm only starting to grasp the dimension, the courage it takes him to go through this, to really open the pages and to not go look left and right, but go dead center and go, let's look into all of it. And I'm trying to do that on myself at the same time, just to even try to comprehend. But this is the hardest journey in life. This is something that might take me decades. And
well, you're not a trained psychotherapist, but you're acting like one. Bob's putting a lot of trust in this untrained physician. But it seems like it's coming out well. All right, the final question for you, JR, being the filmmaker, when do you think the film will be done?
I wouldn't go so far. I'll say something about that. I wouldn't go so far. But sometimes the thing is, when you don't know you don't know what's going to happen with something, and you can't make it, you can't force it. So something could happen. We could say, let's just do one more day. And just, you never know. Nothing could happen, but something could happen. So that's why I like to feel that sort of, eternal, if you will. I know that's maybe a little, no, it's a good word, an eternal sense of, it's just life going on, passing on, and there'll be ups and downs, there'll be this and that. You just don't know. That, to me, is what would be ultimately interesting, and you just don't know. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Do you know?
No. Look, at first I was like, when we started, I was like, Bob, okay, what should we do? Is this a year thing? Is this 2? And then he said, yeah, this is like what we're doing now. And sometimes I wake up and I'm like, well, he must know everything what we're about to do, but he doesn't tell me. I'm waking up sometime, I'm making him sleep in the film just to go into dreams. And then I realize years later that actually, from reading the journal, that his mother was narcoleptic. And then suddenly you connect it with science. One day I opened the window from my bedroom in New York, where I lived for 15 years, and I realized that from my window, when it's winter and all the trees have no leaves, I see the apartment where his mother and his father lived, and his father died in that apartment. And I'm like, all these weird things. I went and seen mediums and people like on routes that I would have never believed to find out about things, and then it all turned out to be true. We're on this journey of an unknown, and I have to say, the longer it lasts, the better. But of course, like you say, those films never get made anymore, because anyone could do an amazing film about his life. You get all those footage, and you just go on through this life. But we're going the hard way, and I think that's his parents were living like that. They were never making any concessions. They were artists in the 60s that were believing so strongly in their art and would do anything for it. And even if it was hard and they wouldn't make any money. And I think we share that of the, no compromise. Let's go and let's make an art piece in whichever form it will be, but make something that's different, that doesn't get made anymore.
It's very zen. In 2040, I hope you're all around. We're going to be screening it. But I want to thank you both for coming. This was really fun to have you both.
Thank you so much.
Join me in thanking again Lorene, JR, and Robert De Niro for that incredible conversation. All right, it's time for our next set of demos. We'll meet an entrepreneur reimagining healthcare for women. We'll learn about a groundbreaking technology, literally groundbreaking, helping keep our communities clean. We'll hear from a tech and design innovator, inviting students to take charge of their own learning. And we'll meet an engineer unlocking robotic intelligence in the most challenging real-world environments. And up first, please put your hands together and give a warm EC welcome for Kara Egan.
Hi, I'm Kara, and I created a company called Teal Health, and I'm going to let you in on our big ambition. You ready? All right, scooch closer. Seriously, closer. You're going to want to hear this. This is good. There we go. Yeah, scooch. Edge of your seats. This is edge of your seats, not moving. Scooch, scooch. Okay. We're going to eliminate cervical cancer in the U.S. And we're going to do it through screening, because almost 4,000 women a year in the US die of cervical cancer. That number could and should be zero, because cervical cancer is entirely preventable through screening, catching the disease at its precancerous state. However, close to 1 in 3 women are currently behind on their screening. Why? The dreaded scooch. Screening in the US today, what we often refer to as the pap smear, requires a woman to go into the doctor's office and scooch, scooch, scooch her way to the edge of a table where a doctor collects a sample using a speculum and a stirrup. For those in the audience nodding, cringing, groaning, you know. The rest of you, just trust us, it's not great. So, it's just not easy in general to get a screening. It's hard to find a doctor's appointment. It's hard to find time in your day, whether that's for work, childcare, transportation. And as I mentioned, no one really looks forward to the visit. We also have an increasing shortage of physicians in the US and rising healthcare costs. This problem is only going to get worse. There's only one way to solve this problem, and it's by taking the cervical cancer screening out of the office and into the home by making it comfortable and convenient for women to stay screened. So that's what we did. Thanks, it gets better. We really did it. We created the first FDA-authorized at-home cervical cancer screening, the Teal Wand. Thanks. Take a clap again. But when we set out to reimagine this whole experience, it wasn't just enough to focus on the collection. Yes, we needed an adequate sample, but what was really important is understanding how a woman felt. Was she confident in her ability to do this? Did she trust Teal with her health care? And so for over 5 years, we designed, we researched, we listened, we iterated. We took insight from many more than thousands of women across the country to design what it was that she wanted. So what did she want? She wanted a screening that was comfortable. She wanted to be welcomed into it, to know that she had everything she needed to feel confident that she could do it. She wanted her results to be accurate. She wanted to get them quickly, delivered on her mobile phone in a way that she understood. And if she had a positive result, be connected with a clinician that was empathetic, trauma-informed, and could explain what her results meant and her required next steps. While there are so many things I am proud of our clinical trial, there are 2 that stand out the most to me. 1, a woman's confidence. In our nationwide clinical trial, we showed that the self-collection with the Teal wand had the exact same accuracy as a doctor-collected sample. A woman can take the exact same test that's used in the doctor's office confidently from home. And second, her experience. 94% of women prefer Teal to the standard of care. This is the health care that she wants. So we just got through the FDA, and we're sprinting as fast as we can to get this in the hands of women. We plan to be nationwide by January, just in time for Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. So I know I've been poking a lot of fun at the standard of care, and as we know, cancer is no laughing matter. So when I said earlier that we're going to eliminate cervical cancer in the US, I didn't mean the royal we. I meant the we in this room, right? Because today we learned the importance of screening. We learned the options that women have to be screened. So get yourself screened, tell the women in your lives to be screened, and together we can eliminate cervical cancer. Thank you.
In a million years, I never thought I would end up as a waste management executive. You know, every child's dream job. When I was young, I wanted to change the world, fight poverty and improve community health and tackle climate change. And somehow on this journey, I ended up in waste. But over the years, I found out a couple things. Waste is big money, big problems. And it's tricky, because it lives in 2 worlds, the visible and the invisible. You can see some of the effects of waste. When it runs off into a river, the damage is tangible. Cloudy water, algae blooms, chemical contaminants like PFAS. But that waste is also filled with carbon, and when it decomposes, it slips out of sight, releasing methane and CO2 that quietly warm the planet around us. And that's a problem, because in the US alone, we produce over 1 billion tons of unusable excess organic waste that we don't know what to do with. For centuries, we've sort of dealt with these wastes in the same 3 ways. We burn it, we dump it in a landfill, or we spread it on the land just to get rid of it. This is a $500 billion industry, and we're still using our great-grandfather's playbooks. And it shows. Each one of those options pollutes something. Our land, our communities, our rivers, not ideal. Turns out there's a better solution, out of sight, below our feet. At my company, Vaulted Deep, we've pioneered a completely new way to deal with waste. We take things like excess manures and crop residues, biosolids, and paper sludge, and instead of letting them cause problems up here, we inject them thousands of feet underground. I'm talking way, way down, like 3 Empire State Building level type down. There, in these underground vaults, the waste stays permanently trapped, forever. And above ground, this looks like any small industrial site. Pumps and tanks and hard hats. But below ground, that waste is transformed. It's carbon locked in stone, and its pollutants kept out of our water. We borrowed from the best, the subsurface experts, by repurposing a proven oil and gas technology called deep well slurry injection. So this is a safe, known technology reimagined for a new purpose. What makes Vaulted work is, for the first time, we're valuing both the visible and the invisible. And together, that whole picture makes it come together. So what does that mean? We partner with farmers and cities and feedlots and paper mills who trust us to dispose of their waste safely. And companies with ambitious net zero goals like Microsoft, Stripe, and Shopify, and Google, who pay us to permanently lock the carbon underground by buying our carbon removal credits. This summer at our site in Kansas, now the largest carbon removal facility in the world, we hosted a community open house where I met a neighbor named Mark. And over some truly excellent barbecue, Mark said, "Julia, look, I don't believe in climate change, but I believe in good jobs for my sons, and I believe that our rivers should be clean enough for fishing. And for that alone, I'm glad y'all are here." Mark, like most of us, values the things he can see: his family, his work, the river that runs through his town. But what we do at Vaulted happens underground. You don't see it. You don't have to. You'll feel it in the cleaner water and the steadier climate. So yeah, I never thought I'd end up as a waste management executive. But it turns out waste management is our great invisible infrastructure, and it's connected to everything I care about. Turns out it was my dream job all along. I just had to look really deep, like 3 Empire State Buildings level deep below the surface. Thank you, guys.
I grew up in Lebanon, the only girl among 4 brothers. I wasn't given much choice in my education. I dreamed of becoming a landscape architect, but I have no options. My father would not let me study abroad like my brothers did. I studied engineering instead at the nearby university, just to prove I could do it. I did well. I graduated with good grades, but I had lost my sense of motivation. It was only years later, in New York, where I found my motivation again, when my boss, Leon, at a small construction company, trusted me with major projects. And that launched me on a path of growth that brought me here today. Motivation is the golden currency of learning, but it's not easy to come by. Even though schools have been using motivation hacks for a long time. Prizes, competition, grades, and now gamification, a form of motivation that is like sugar, but likely to fade as quickly as a sugar high. But real learning and growth depend on intrinsic motivation. And that is what became the foundation when we first built the TUMO Center for Creative Technologies in Armenia, where I live. I'm the founding CEO of TUMO, a free after-school program where teens are in charge of their own learning. And because we think that choice is fundamental, we offer 14 skill areas: animation, programming, robotics, filmmaking, whichever you pick, however you mix them, it's up to you. we also have choices. We give them choices because they need to pick their own learning path. We have a bunch of no's. No entrance requirements, no tests, no cohorts, no school year, and no certification. Instead, TUMO teens build their own portfolios and share their work. My favorite one is an AI that detects sarcasm in text. And a group of students trained it on headlines from a satirical newspaper. Teens may hate to study, but they love to learn. We started in Armenia, and we have now reached more than 100,000 students in 15 countries, from India to Japan to Argentina. We have 30 big centers around the world and 40 satellite locations in rural areas. We offer more than 3 million learner hours per year. Last month, I was at the opening of TUMO LA, our first one in the US. It was amazing. And we would love to bring this experience to teens across the US. Honestly, I sometimes think we have discovered magic. Studies show that TUMO teens get better grades in school, excel in university and their careers, and get to become lifelong learners. I'm thinking about one of our students, 12-year-old Shrusti, from one of the most vulnerable neighborhoods in Mumbai, who went from a minimal digital literacy to configuring an AI agent in a learning lab, and of Nane, a shy girl from Yerevan who blossomed into a software engineer and is now an amateur kickboxer. As a community of educators, we have been taking motivation shortcuts for too long. It is time to make sure that learners learn because they want to, and we respect their rights as learners. Our experience shows that they will rise to the occasion every time, and by doing so, they will remind us what education was always meant to be. Thank you.
There are numerous dangerous jobs that require humans to risk their lives. For example, 15 years after Japan's tsunami in 2011, we are still struggling with decontamination of Fukushima's power plant. From construction to mining to security and urban operations, we are facing with severe labor shortages, more than what we have ever seen. In field AI, we believe robotics is the solution. Robots can make the world safer for humans. Prior to field AI, me and my co-founder were part of NASA. We were developing technologies for Mars, Moon, and Earth, winning DARPA challenges, these prestigious competitions that are behind major breakthroughs in robotic AI. And now, field AI is born by one central mission: to bring these technologies into industrial job site here on Earth, make them safer, make people safer, and operations more efficient. At core, we are an AI software company. We built an AI software layer that sits on different types of robots, teaches them, and allows them to interact with the world. The shared and core brain is common across all of the robots. Every single robot in our fleet is connected to this brain and learn from one another. If a robot in Japan steps on wet concrete, learns a new skill, tomorrow the robot in San Diego will learn from that skill. And that co-learning makes the pace of evolution of these autonomy and AI models exponentially fast. How we do these is based on blending two ends of the spectrum in autonomy. We bring in unique physics-based AI that ensures safety of these solutions and blend that with learning-based, data-driven AI that allows these solutions to be generalizable. Now you're left with a brain that helps and enables the robot to do a variety of different tasks in different environments while you can deploy them safely around people and human. So we deploy these in DDD environments, dirty, dull, and dangerous ones, like construction, mining, and we do so. We introduce these like a human. They do not require GPS. They don't need prior map. They don't even need predefined trajectories. So this is Henrietta, tap dancing on the stage. And what you see at the top is the brain of the robot with eyes and ears that perceives the world, and the compute here that allows the system to make sense of the world. And same brain, the beauty of it is, goes on different embodiments. It sits on a smaller robot that might be more suitable to deploy in malls and airports around people. It goes on a passenger-sized off-road vehicle in a solar farm to carry material over tens and hundreds of kilometers. So now these robots are coming out of lab for the first time into the real world, into complex environments. And these environments are the ones that have most severe labor shortages, like construction and mining, these dirty, dull, dangerous tasks. For example, in construction, people traditionally walk sites for several hours and collect data, photos, and report progress compared to blueprint. Now these robots do so autonomously, 24/7, operate in the environment, collect information, not only reduce cost and increase efficiency, but most importantly, increase the safety of the operation and the safety of the people around it. So we are entering a new era. We are transitioning from conversational AI, like ChatGPT, to the physical version of AI, that now robots are taking actions in the world. As robots taking these dangerous and difficult jobs in the environment, we have opportunities to do something better. And at Field AI, our commitment is simple: to build this future responsibly, to build it safely, the future where humans lead and the robots take the risks. Thank you.
Wow. How incredible was that? Please thank again Ali and Henrietta and Melvin. What a fascinating look at how imagination and innovation can meet real human needs. Also, just take a minute and one more time thank all of the presenters from today's incredible and inspiring demos. Next up, please welcome Lorene back to the stage for a conversation with legendary designer Johnny Ive and OpenAI co-founder and CEO Sam Altman.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
All right. Thank you all for your patience. We're getting to the end of demo day, but it's just been an extraordinary day, and this, I'm sure, will be quite memorable as well. So as as I was thinking about this conversation, I was reflecting on the fact that sometimes when two generational thinkers meet, something very special can happen. And it's not necessarily a product is formed or a plan, but it's an alignment of intention. And it's meeting someone who you feel a deep connection to, and sometimes almost a sibling relationship with. And I think that's how it went with Johnny and Sam when they met 2 years ago. They found that they were thinking about and asking the same questions about design and about intelligence and about the role that technology plays in human life and should play in human life. And their subsequent collaboration, a company called IO, emerged from their shared curiosity and their deeply held sense of purpose. And together, they've built an extraordinary company of engineers and designers and thinkers, people who are merging hardware and software and intelligence in entirely new ways. And something really important, they chose to do it here in San Francisco, a city that has always been, yes, a city that I like to think is both a laboratory and a shop floor of human possibility. So Johnny has said that everything he's learned in his life has brought him to this moment. And Sam calls this moment one of the greatest technological revolutions of our lifetimes. So, wow, those are crazy, heady statements, and it's our good fortune to hear from them directly. So we will just launch in. Welcome, Johnny and Sam. Thanks for coming. So I want to start with that point about San Francisco. Why do you think San Francisco is the place where things that are brand new to the world are created? There's something about this place, about the light and the topography and the eccentricities that allow for some freedom of thought and creativity. But what do you both think about that? I think something that we all three have in common is we're not from this place. We weren't born here, but we came here and we chose to stay here. And we're not alone, that a lot of people are attracted to this place for very specific reasons. So talk a little bit about why Love From, OpenAI, and IO were all started here.
Well, I first came here in '89, and I was 21, and it was the first time I'd been on an airplane. And I was struck on lots of levels, but one of them was just emotionally in my tummy. It just seemed, it was very unusual. It seemed improbable, you know, a ridiculous place to try and build, I mean, given the topography. The extraordinary proximity to natural
build anything,
beauty.
Let alone
buses
and companies.
But and then we moved here in '92, and so in so many ways, you know, I spent my formative, you know, the last 30 plus years here. And one, I feel so mindful and so aware that I owe the city a huge, huge debt of gratitude. You know, I'm conscious about some of the things I've learned, and I know there's an awful lot that I'm not even aware of in ways in which I've benefited. But I love the city. I mean, I really, really love the city.
But do you think it allows you to think in ways that you wouldn't think otherwise? Do you think that it aids the creativity?
Yeah, I think the fact that it's you know, I grew up in London, which was so huge. I like that the peninsula makes, you know, contains growth. And so there's a density and a diversity that is, I think fabulously enabling for improbable and unplanned meetings and collaborations.
I I just learned recently I was born in the Midwest and grew up there, and I just learned recently the first place I ever came was San Francisco when I was like a 3-month-old baby. My mom brought me on a trip here. I never knew that before. But I didn't come again until I was 17, and I was visiting colleges, and I thought it was the coolest, best place ever, instantly.
Yeah.
I have all of these like theories about what makes SF. The obvious takeaway is it is the freest, most creative, weirdest culture of anywhere, and that has led to amazing things. I don't think it's an accident that you get like the creation of Burning Man and the creation of AI in the same city. In fact, I think it'd be strange if they like, it's that same cultural force is what drives all of this. And then there's the question of like, why did the cultural force happen here? Like, why is this the place? Clearly, the natural beauty of the city and the surroundings attracted people that felt a certain way about the world. I grew up in a culture where the map was very much read from east to west, and there was this thing that San Francisco was like the end of the extreme end of the frontier or something. And I felt, and I think other people felt like that was kind of where, if you were still chasing some sense of like newness and possibility in the frontier, where you go. I think the weather here really matters. This sounds ridiculous to say, but
Yeah, people don't usually brag on that.
What?
People aren't usually bragging about the weather.
I think there is something about like cold, crisp weather that is helpful to my creative process and helpful to thinking. I notice, yeah.
Yay!
I notice every time I come back from somewhere like hot and humid, and I immediately land in San Francisco, and I feel different, and I'm thinking more clearly, and I'm more expansively. And
oh, that is interesting, Sam.
People rag on the weather, but like,
no, I got you.
it is maybe a little worse for the social life of a city. Like maybe warm nights are really nice for people spilling out in the streets and staying out late and running into each other. And there are definitely those nights in the summer where you're like bundled up against the wind, and you're like, oh, I wish I lived somewhere else. But I think it is just enormously powerful. Certainly the small size of the city, I think, is huge. Like, it does feel like when you are walking, every few blocks, you're turning the corner into some other very different section of the city. And the people that choose to live here, they kind of know what San Francisco is like at this point. And so it's become this, you know, maybe we should like talk about why the whole 60s thing happened here. But once it happened, that was a real gravity well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it shaped the zeitgeist, but there's also something about the concentration of talent and curiosity that allows for new ideas to form. And it's one of those things that happens, it's almost ineffable, and you understand it better in hindsight, like Florence was in the 15th century.
The commitment to freedom is such a big deal, and like supporting people in their weirdness. You can't, everyone talks about, well, I want this kind of freedom or that one, but I think freedom is freedom, and you either accept the whole thing and all of its weirdness, or you don't. People talk about this in Florence, too. Like, there was just a lot that got tolerated.
Yeah, I agree. So you guys had a meeting of the hearts and minds when you met, but it's quite a big deal then to come together and form a company and have a sense of the journey that was going to unfold. But there's something that I want to share with everyone, which is this process of ideation that you go through and your team went through and your team went through, whereby you didn't start by thinking about what is a product that will be native to AI. You actually put that aside and you explored other themes, like the nature of relationships, of humans to nature, humans to animals, humans to humans. You explored the nature of intelligence. You explored the nature of tools, how humans have used tools over the world, values and human rights. It was this really amazing series, almost academic series of explorations that you had before you allowed anyone to even think about what a new product might look and feel like. Can you talk more about that, Johnny? Why do you start that way, and how does it actually yield a product at the end?
I think it's, I mean, it's funny the similarities with what Bob and JR were saying about, I think if you have a clear sense of, you have a predetermined goal, that just leaves me feeling terribly disappointed and dead, because if you do, you've got no clue about all the things that you've just missed. You don't even know that you've missed them if you're so focused on an end goal. And so I think, I mean, obviously a foundation for any creative practice is this sort of insatiable curiosity. And I think that's one of the things that, immediately I think Sam and I clicked, because I think we were, more defined by this desire to learn and explore than be right. And so I think that's what it, and that means that I mean, it's funny, I think a lot of very healthy relationships are characterized by you not saying very much, because you're actually interested to hear what somebody else has got to say, which means you're listening. And there are, I don't know, how long silent pauses can be sort of terribly embarrassing socially, or actually fabulously, a characteristic of incredible security when you're with somebody and you're just thinking. So yeah, I think those were different manifestations of us just wanting to learn and sort of feel out what the opportunities were. But it was that lovely combination, which I'm sure many of you are very familiar with, which is, that's completely intuitive, really fragile, elusive, very tentative, and then with some robust structure. And that helps, we have a really rigorous research practice, I think.
And Sam, did your team participate in these learning sessions?
Yeah, we came to Johnny and his team and said, hey, we have this ridiculous new piece of technology, like this huge, seemingly huge thing of computers are smart now. They can think and they can understand, and they couldn't do that before. And we don't know what that means, but we know that we are all living in the constraints of this same kind of computer we've been using for a long time, and that feels totally wrong and limiting. And we don't know how to figure out the right answer, but we think the world deserves better stuff, and we'd love to see if there's a way we can spend some time together and figure it out. And Johnny brought us along on this journey that seemed certainly like nothing we have ever done before. It was not the way we worked. But we did it. There is more in common with the sort of research spirit and the designer spirit than I ever thought. And so it felt, I think, comfortable quickly to both sides. And their team had a lot of thoughts that we never would have had. Hopefully ours had a few that they wouldn't have had. And we just started talking about, what does it mean that this thing is going to be able to know everything you've ever thought about, read, said? What does it mean that this is going to be a sort of active participant? What does it mean that this is computers can now be proactive in a not annoying way, in like a really intelligent way, and they couldn't before. And we started talking and doing these research sessions about the things we were speaking about. And Johnny and I were actually just reflecting backstage. We had a meeting after some of these sessions, the two of us, one weekend, and we were talking about kind of some of the learnings of that research and these ideas that felt very crazy at the time, and that they weren't all going to come together about what it would mean to have a computer that was built around this new affordance that didn't exist before. And finally, we have the first prototypes. I can't believe how jaw-droppingly good the work is and how exciting it is, but also now getting to have the benefit of hindsight and looking at the process backwards, how much it's all in there, and how it wouldn't have worked any other way.
Yeah.
And then out of the end of it comes this extraordinary thing that all of the pieces, and no one but us and the teams will ever know about all of the like craziness that went into that. But I think they'll still feel it somehow.
I think there's, especially in large companies, that value predictability. Leaders get really uncomfortable with ambiguity, and the creative process is unpredictable. And what was lovely, these months and months and months, these early times when we didn't have a sense of, are we going to make anything? Who knows? Or are we going to make a family of products? But to relish that time of not knowing and not feeling in any way this is a necessary evil to endure so you can eventually make a product. And that was, I love that part of the process. I also, the one thing is when you don't know what you're doing, the one thing that you do know as you're gently exploring and you have an idea, the one thing that is very clear are all the problems and all the reasons why it shouldn't exist. So it's really funny. It's all the reasons not to do it are very obvious and clear, and it's this sort of huge leap of intuitive faith that I really struggle and get frustrated with my inability to articulate all of that is tentative and fragile. But while that's uncomfortable, I've come to really love that place. And now, as things start to reveal themselves, actually that's better than the other one, yeah.
Johnny and his team make these books as they're going through the design process. It would be a book like, it'd be like 10 books, each this thick, about like the history of shapes, or the design of cameras, or how relationships evolve over time. And so you have these like stacks of books, like this tall, many, many books. And each book is so beautifully and thoughtfully done. You're like, this will have nothing to do with the product. There's no way. I actually hope you do publish the book someday, because to see the thread through all of that the threads come together in a way that looking for, you cannot imagine that it's going to happen.
Isn't that
And then it
incredible?
all snaps into place. And like one day Johnny calls and says, hey, we have a thing to show you.
And then when you have this something that's absolutely brand new to the world, and people see it and use it, it seems inevitable. It seems like, oh, well, of course this is what it is, and I shall now be using it. I mean, you've designed products that billions of people use. So there's something about this process that allows you to have filter after filter after filter of the wrong idea.
Yeah.
But it's also pretty special to have a partner who's patient with the process and is totally comfortable with perhaps not having anything at the end of a few years.
And shocked by the process.
I love it. I really do.
Okay, but I know everyone's here is itching for me to ask this question. So what, after all this time, what can you tell us that you're working on? What can you tell us about, because there is a thing, what can you tell us about the thing that maybe in a year or two, it will now be this inevitable, obvious product or thing?
Well, the reason...
Sam?
I'm going to leave it to Johnny.
Yeah, you'll have more luck with Sam than me.
I know.
The reason I fell in love with Sam was, so I actually contacted Sam, which I've not done before, and I was very shy. The researchers at OpenAI are terrifying, really intimidating, until you get to realize that they are way more curious, way more creative, and the research team are absolutely spectacular, and the design team, our teams have gelled in a really conspicuous way. But what was lovely was what I went to with Sam wasn't a product, but it was a tentative thesis. It was an idea about, it was a thought about the nature of objects and our interface, and it was very general. And we didn't know whether that would lead to a product.
Do you remember what that thought was?
Oh, of course I do.
Oh, can you share?
It was to do with, no, I can't share it, can I? No.
Sam, what can you tell us about what you're building?
I'm like an easier person to crack, so I'm gonna try to, Johnny is great at giving a non-answer. I get very excited and want to talk about it. I will say the vibe that I would hope we
We'll take
do.
it.
One of the things that I think has gone wrong with modern technology, and by the way, a lot has gone right. I think the iPhone is like thus far the crowning achievement of consumer products. It's an amazing thing. But one of the things that has gone wrong is when I use current devices or most applications, I feel like I am walking through Times Square in New York and constantly just dealing with all the little indignities along the way. Flashing lights in my face, tension going here, people bumping into me, like noises going off. And it's an unsettling thing. You know, it's like bright stuff flashing, notifications coming, you know, like dopamine chasing here and there, and like short attention spans. And I understand how we got here, but I don't think it's making any of our lives like peaceful and calm and just letting us focus on other stuff. And an early thing we talked about with the devices we hope to build is if you have this really smart AI that you trust to do things for you over long periods of time, filter things out, be able to be contextually aware of when it should not really bother you, but when it should like present information to you or ask for your input or not, and you trust it over time, and it does have just this incredible contextual awareness of your whole life. You can then go for a vibe that is not like, you know, walking through Times Square and getting bumped into and having all this stuff compete for your attention, but like sitting in the most beautiful cabin by a lake and in the mountains and sort of just enjoying the peace and calm. And I think this actually just isn't possible in the pre-AI world of technology. I think this isn't possible with the current kinds of devices that we have. But I hope we build devices that can offer you back some of that spirit.
Yeah, lovely. So these devices that will be built at some point, when do you think people will be able to see them? Ish.
Sure. I mean, we
Like within 5 years?
Oh, much sooner than that.
Okay.
No, 5 years.
2?
I think even less than that. So I think going just to something Sam was saying, which is I know that you and I love, or we're very aware of what appears inevitable isn't. But that sense of inevitability often speaks to something that is lovingly and well considered. And I can't bear products that are like a dog wagging their tail in your face, or products that are so proud that they solved a complicated problem, they want to remind you of how hard it was. I love solutions that teeter on appearing almost naive in their simplicity and I also love incredibly intelligent, sophisticated products that you want to touch and you feel no intimidation and you want to use almost carelessly, that you use them almost without thought, that they're just tools. We're the important ones in this. And and I think we're there.
When people see it, they say, that's it.
Yeah, they
it's
will.
Like so simple, but then it just does. As we were talking about, AI can do so much for you that so much can fall away, and the degree to which Johnny has like chipped away at every little thing that this doesn't need to do or doesn't need to be in there is remarkable. I remember he said once early on, like, we'll know we have the design right when, I don't remember, he said you want to like lick it or take a bite out of it or something like that.
Yeah.
And there was an earlier prototype that we were like quite excited about, but I did not have any feeling of like, I want to pick up that thing and take a bite out of it. And then finally we got there all of a sudden.
And then what happened?
And I didn't. But there's something about when
Yeah.
the design gets like so simple and beautiful
Yeah.
and like playful, for lack of a better word.
Yes. Yes.
That's something that's, I mean, I'm sure we'd all feel the same. I mean, there's not a lot of humor in the products that are being designed and made, particularly in this area. And I really sense very clearly there is a huge desire for us not to take ourselves quite so seriously, even though these are serious times. And I feel the same quickening of my heart that I felt when I moved here in '92. And it's been so infectious, I think, between Love from I/O and OpenAI. There's a conspicuous momentum as a creative. Momentum is, I mean, you really notice it when it's not there.
Yes.
But before we knew anything about the products we were going to build, I remember very early meeting, Johnny said, we are going to make people smile. We are going to make people feel joy. Whatever the product does, it has to do that. And I was like, yeah, whatever, Johnny. Like, people just want to be efficient. It's fine. Obvious weakness of mine. But I am so happy that Johnny pushed on that. And I didn't realize until we got the things started to come together how much that just doesn't exist in the current set of tech companies.
Yeah.
And how lovely it is to have some whimsy back.
Yeah. And around AI, there's a lot of doom and gloom. There's a lot of doomsday scenario. And of course, there are a lot of negative unintended consequences of social media and some other technologies. So that part is real, but bringing back the joy and the discovery will be delightful if you guys can pull that off. So before we wrap up, though, I have a few quick fire questions for you. You don't know what I'm about to ask, but it'll be good. Okay, Johnny, a few for each of you. Johnny, what's one thing you use daily that you think is poorly designed?
Just about everything.
I know.
From my pencil to door handles. No, I mean, yeah, I just don't have very good ones. But you should have asked it the other way. Like, is there something?
I was going to say it the other way. Didn't know that you were going to say everything. Okay. What's one object that most people don't realize is brilliantly designed that gives you joy?
God, that's a
I'm
hard
sorry.
one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's hard.
Um,
What's one object?
A spoon.
A spoon.
Yeah. Spoons
That's
are
a good one.
Yeah, they're a means to an end, aren't they?
Yeah. Okay. Other than a spoon.
Spoon.
What's one product that you wished you'd designed?
The zip.
You mean a zipper?
Yeah, zipper.
Oh.
Is that an English word? A zipper.
Oh,
Yeah.
a zipper.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Okay, good one. All right. I'm going to Sam. All right, Sam.
Actually, no, I've got another one. A pocket. Did you know someone invented a pocket?
Did they?
So I always thought if you had pants or trousers, where I come from, that you got pockets for free.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't. They never used to. And then somebody invented something, and they called it a pocket, and it's where you would put a watch. You know, like
Yeah, pocket
watch.
Yeah.
Isn't that
That's
fantastic?
wonderful.
What did you do today? I did a pocket.
Well, that changed a lot of people's lives.
Well,
I'm
we've
very
all got
happy
them.
about that. I know.
Not many people
I'm very
here don't
unhappy
have
if
a
I don't
pocket.
have a pocket. That's true. Johnny, one last one. What's one material you've always wanted to work with but haven't had the chance yet?
I've only a little bit, but ceramic. I like to do much. I love ceramic.
Mm-hmm. Describe how you've used ceramic.
I've used it for very sort of functional reasons, like as an insulator, or you know, it's RF transparent, but it's very hard.
Yeah.
But not for. I love materials that are inherently modest and not expensive, and they assume value by the ingenuity of the craft process. And so they're given value by people in how they're transformed. So yeah, I mean, that's why I love glass. I mean, sand and, what glass can become.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, Sam, what's a product you use often and just love?
I'll say the iPhone. With my earlier complaints aside, it is the most before and after moment product of my life.
Okay, Sam, what's a historical moment you return to for perspective? You have a lot on your shoulders. I imagine you have to have some mental touchstones to put things into perspective.
Everyone always is like, they're like, oh, do you think about like the Trinity test of the atomic bomb or something? And actually, I almost never do. The moment that I think about, that I thought about before we kind of made our big discoveries, and that I've thought about after, the historical moment that is most similar, that I wish I was in the room for, that I have taken the most going forward spirit from, is the discovery of the transistor. The transistor is my favorite analogy for what AI is like. It's like discovering a new property of physics. People kind of knew what they were looking for, but it was kind of accidental. The vibes of the people that made that discovery were very similar to some early OpenAI people from what I've been able to read. The scaling process of the transistor over time versus the way LLMs have scaled, the economic place that it had, where the transistor companies themselves, with a small number of exceptions, never got that big, but they kind of seeped throughout the entire economy and lifted everything up. And we don't think about this as a transistor company or that, but they're all over everything.
Right.
It was this fundamental enabling building block. And so that's kind of the moment I think about the most.
I could see why, because it allowed for a whole new world to be built upon it. Wow. Thank you both so very much for coming here and talking with us today.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you so much, Lorene, Johnny, and Sam, for that enlightening conversation. What an inspiring look at what a creative partnership can unlock. And way to leave us with some anticipation of what is still to come. All right, friends, before we move to our grand finale, I want to give a quick shout out to DJ Cams for keeping the energy high today. Now, we're closing the day with an extraordinary leader. He's an artist, choreographer, and ballet dancer who reminds us that art doesn't just entertain. It challenges us, connects us, and moves us to see the world differently. Please join me in welcoming the president of the Juilliard School, Damien Wetzel.
Hello, I'm Damien. It's such a pleasure to be here for Demo Day. What a day. Ideas, lives, so much to think about and so much to look forward at. This is my life, making a world of art. I started as a ballet dancer, New York City Ballet for about 20 years, choreograph, I direct, produce, and in 2018 I became the president of Juilliard. And for today, we have a little gathering of Juilliard alumni across the years in music, dance, and drama. This is Derek. That's Alex. That's Letitia and Kayla, class of 2025. Stephanie and Drew. And so this is our gathering, but it's actually our gathering. So we thought we'd start by teaching you something. So I don't know how many of you have ever been in a dance studio, but you're about to enter one at Juilliard. So welcome to Juilliard. Please join me and rise as you're able. You're about to learn something extraordinary. In 1933, George Balanchine came to America. Russian-born choreographer, and by 1934, he had a school. And his very first class of students, he said, it's not enough to do class, we have to learn to dance together through choreography. So he made his first ballet in America, set to Tchaikovsky, Serenade for Strings. And it began with a group of human beings on a stage, and they transform into dancers. So join me in raising your right arm as if the sun is in your eye. That's right, your right arm, exactly. The sun is so bright that you slowly bring the hand to the side of your head like you've got a headache. From there, you put it over your heart and you look to your right. Now you lower both hands into a ballet position. Don't be frightened. We're going to open our feet on my command into a small first position. Almost there. You're going to open both arms and one leg, your right leg. You're going to close in fifth position and prepare to dance. Okay, we have Derek for rehearsal and Alex. Are you ready? Boarding on the curtain. Raise that right arm and just feel the air. The dawn, the sun, the curtain has risen. Feel a whoosh of air. Now over 8 counts, you bring that hand to your head. 5, 6, 7, 8. Now over your heart. And 2 arms down. Now on 2, the feet. Ready? 1, 2. And we open and we prepare to dance. And hold it and look out. Wow, very good. Excellent. Okay. You may be seated, but hang on to that because we're actually going to perform it later all together. So what just happened here? You were the art. You were, physically. You embodied it. You were the art. And we did something together that we couldn't do by ourselves. We started to breathe together, that little laughter that kind of went across. There was an idea waiting in our minds that we all took hold of, intake of breath. That's art, reminding us what it is to be alive. That is art with humanity, leading with humanity into humans. From music, like this piano quartet by Gabriel Fauré, dances and words by a fire, cave paintings, fables spoken and written, ancient words that gave us ancient wisdom, art has always nurtured us. It's been a gathering of forces and of instruments, of voices, a gathering of us. It mimics life, and it counters indifference, which is not a natural state, but what happens when we stop feeling. Art is a way we unlearn indifference and learn again to care, to feel, and to remember.
Remember the earth, whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember, you are all people, and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember the dance languages that life is. Remember.
Art. Art can be thrilling, like that Schumann or those beautiful words by Joy Harjo that Letitia shared. But it's also an instrument of study and of learning. I'm thinking about when a dancer steps forward. It's a study in courage. And when an actor embodies a character, it's a masterclass in empathy. Letitia will explore the moment in Shakespeare's Twelfth Night when Viola recognizes that Olivia has mistakenly fallen for her male disguise. She tries to make sense of it with you, with the audience, as she discusses the chaos that she's created.
I am the man. If it be so as 'tis, poor lady, well, she would better love a dream. Disguise, I see thou art a wickedness wherein the pregnant enemy does much. How easy is it for the proper false in women's waxen hearts to set their forms? What will become of this? As I am man, my state is desperate for my master's love. As I am woman, now alas the day. What thriftless sighs will poor Olivia breathe? Oh, time. Thou must untangle this, not I. It is too hard a knot for me to untie.
The complexity of the emotions in Shakespeare's words are matched with the many forms and dialects of music. And when a musician undertakes an exploration of those forms to make the instrument their own, we discover a form of freedom.
And it's a freedom made possible by that instrument. Here, a piano, really an interface with that ever-expanding horizon of musical possibility. Let's start with rhythm, and really with the simplest possible rhythmic situation. In pa at the piano, left, right, left, right, left, right. Or a little faster, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. It's a perfectly fine way to accompany many a tune. It's not even too shabby for Mozart. La 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 la, Champagne aria from Don Giovanni. But what happens when a pianist like Franz Liszt comes along? Well, he takes this whole left-right complex, and he says, I'll do that all with the left hand alone. Now, Liszt was 75. Liszt was 75 years early to a certain party called stride piano going on in Harlem, typified by a jazz legend like Art Tatum. Now, the principles there are much the same. It's again an oompa, although it's syncopated groove. So instead of left, right, we might think left, right, right here. And Art Tatum says, I'll do the exact same thing that Liszt did. And if we put that in context,
Every day at work at Juilliard, I see the artistry and the brilliance at work, and I see the practice and the brilliance of humanity as well. It's an opportunity for all those able to seize it. But talent has always been greater than opportunity, and there are those who are boxed out by cost. And that's why my vision, our goal, our vision at Juilliard is to become a fully tuition-free school for all students. Because what we offer cannot simply be for those who can afford it. And as we move forward on this path, the artistry is richer, the humanity is more just, and the gathering is more complete. And you are now a part of our gathering, having become the art. It's an art that begets participation. It says, I'm here with you. We are listening together. Let's remember this together. That's what art teaches. And that's what our shared future depends on. It is the gathering of us. So in that spirit, let's dance as we did and finish this gathering together. The sun is shining. Eight counts to the side of your head. Over your heart. Hands low. And feet. And we open and close and prepare to dance. Bravo. And thank you. Thank you. Come on.
Thank you again, Damien, and all of these incredible performers. That concludes Demo Day 2025.